So what's the excuse, right? 44, and he can be on that podium. So if we think that our best years are behind us, no, no, no. Hey, Run Elite. Today we're going to be talking about age and how much does it actually limit your performance as a runner. Because we have this expectation that as we get older and older, we should run slower and slower. And that maybe we peaked somewhere in our 20s or possibly even 30s, early 30s. And then in our 40s, 50s, 60s, we can't run nearly as well. This is what we think. And so what we're going to do here is take a two-pronged approach. Number one, we're going to just take that head and open it up and stir the pot around and try to break up the belief that you have to run slower as you're getting older. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna take a look at some elite runners, and then we're gonna go to the whiteboard up on the wall here, and we're going to map this out for how fast you can continue to run into your later decades in life. Ready? So let's jump in right now. All right. So age is not as big as a limiting factor as we used to think. And I just put a couple of random pictures up here just for fun, because you maybe have seen a runner who's like kind of older and kicking butt among younger runners. And we sometimes write it off as like they're genetically gifted or something like that. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. Let's take a look at Bob Schul. So Bob Schul is an Olympic champion in Tokyo in the 60s. He won the 5,000 meters. This guy is a beast. But here he is in his late 60s. He's actually 70 something in this picture here. But let's take a look at some of the things that he did later in his life. So even at age 50, he was still running the 10K in 33:55. This is incredible. How many of you here have run a 33:55 10K at all, let alone in your 50s, right? A half marathon in 1:16. This is good enough to win many half marathons. Maybe not the best of the best in the world, but like pretty darn good. And he's 50. Then at age 60, he still ran a 5K in 17:56. Okay, we're not talking 40s and 50s here. 60 flipping years old. Let's look at what some other runners have been able to do. So here's Haile Gebrselassie on the left, and he's winning the 10,000 at the Sydney Olympics right here. And he's in his prime, okay? So we're just gonna use this as a comparison. So if we take a look at some of the successes that Haile has had over his year, you can trace his success all the way back to 1991. And he even started setting world records in 1994 in the 5,000 and the 10,000 meters. So let's zoom in just a little bit here and take a look. Just for reference, in 1992 at age 20, he was actually, he might have actually been 19 at this point, right before his 20th birthday. He ran the 10,000 in 28:03. Okay, just keep that number in your mind. We're going to come back to it. And he went on, after a spectacular career in track and field, he then, instead of retiring, he went on to the marathon. And this is maybe a traditional thing where you see track runners kind of graduate to the marathon in older years. But traditionally, we didn't really see them carry over to be the best of the best after they were done with their track career. And he was one of the people who really did this. Later in his life, he got to be the best. And he broke the world record in the marathon. Okay, let's take a look here. So he went on from track and field and then up to the marathon, sure. But then he was done. He decided that he was going to retire. And then he came out of retirement where he wasn't training like he used to. He came out, and at age 39, they invited him to the Vienna Half Marathon, and here he is. He's winning the Vienna Half Marathon at age 39. So we've already looked at in his 20s, in his early 30s, yes, great runner. But then he himself said he was washed up, and he still came back at 39, which in the distance running community is relatively old. You don't see many people on the world stage winning an Olympic medal or anything like that at 39. But here he is winning the Vienna Half Marathon. And on the right, you see a picture of him with Paula Radcliffe. Now, in this race, they gave Paula Radcliffe, arguably the greatest female marathoner of all time. She gave her, and then world record holder, they gave her a head start of whatever it was, 7 minutes or so, something that was the difference between their PRs, and see if he could catch her. And he did catch her. And then they celebrated together at the end. That was at age 39, but let's keep going. What about the next year, okay? At age 40, he came back again, 40 years old, at the Vienna Half Marathon, and he won once again in 1:01:28. Now, this is a really fast time, and he's competing against, you know, able-bodied men who are in their absolute prime, arguable their prime, in their late 20s, in their early 30s, in their mid 30s. Here he is, 40 years old, and he beats all of them, and he wins a very competitive and prestigious race. So remember this chart here where we zoomed in and we looked at his 10,000 meter time, 28:03, and he was 20 years old. Let's look forward here, and what do we got next? Well, here he is at age 40 in 2012, and he's running on the track again. What does he do? Well, sorry, not on the track. He's on the road. What does he do? He runs a 10K in 27:20. So let's look at this. On the right, 20 years old. We sometimes think that at 20 you got a lot of potential. Maybe at 25 you got a little bit more. But he's one of the best in the world already. Going into world championships, just 2 years shy of setting a world record, and here he is running 28:03, and that was on the track. Then he runs 27:20 on the road, which is more difficult and arguably slower, definitely slower, right? At age 40, running even faster. I mean, significantly, this is 43 seconds faster. So he did it. He actually got faster as he got older. But maybe you haven't even heard of Haile Gebrselassie. Perhaps you have, but maybe you've heard of Meb Keflezighi. So here's Meb Keflezighi winning the Boston Marathon in 2014, which is pretty spectacular because he's going against people who are definitely younger than him, and he beat all of them. And then later on, the next year, when he turned 40, here he is at the San Diego Marathon. He got second overall. He was the first Masters, but second overall. Once again, a hugely competitive international marathon. And here he is, second overall at age 40. Let's keep going. Well, he continued to get older, as we all do, and at age 41, he goes to the Olympic trials. He's head-to-head with Galen Rupp here. Galen Rupp beat him, but only by a little bit. He got second to Galen Rupp at the Olympic trials. You can see him on the right here. He actually slipped and fell, and like a badass, he just took it in stride, and he did some push-ups right on the finish line. Got up and finished second at the Olympic trials at age 41. He then went on to the Olympics. That's actually what you're seeing here on the right, at the Olympics, and finished 33rd. So he's 33rd best marathoner in the world at 41. So are you starting to see that maybe your peak is maybe not even in your 20s or 30s? At least there are some examples where we're in our 40s, 41, and these guys aren't running well. They're running at the top of the world, okay? Second best in the country, 33rd best in the world. Not age group winners, not running well for them, not doing okay. Really, really the top of the top. And if you're not trying to be at the top of the top, then what can you do? Now let's take a look at this picture here. This is the Olympic trials in 2020. All the way on the right, we have Abdi Abdirahman, 44 flipping years old. 44. And he finished third at the Olympic trials. So what's the excuse, right? 44, and he can be on that podium. So if we think that our best years are behind us, no, no, no. All right, whiteboard time. Let's take a minute here and just talk and do an experiment. I want you to think about this just for a second, okay? So we're gonna draw out a lifetime. It's gonna go like this, okay? When you're born, you're 0 years old, okay? And your running ability, so we're gonna say running ability is 0 because you can't even stand up yet. And as you get older, you're going to run better, right? Maybe at 1 year old, you're able to stand up. And maybe at 10 years old, you're able to run in just a little bit. So as you start to get older, your running ability is going to improve. Now, at age 18, you're gonna have some kind of level of fitness, okay? So we're gonna call this, at age 18, we're just gonna kind of standardize this and say you are this fit. But you're not gonna stop. At 18, you have the potential to actually keep going and keep training, and you're probably gonna get to be a better runner even if you don't train, simply because your body is maturing, maybe you're still growing. And so statistically, if you look at a marathoner, traditionally we used to say, for like the 10,000 meters or so, we used to say that age 27 was where you would actually sort of peak Now, as you look at the marathon, it may be a little bit later. It may be from 27 to early 30s. Let's just call it 32, just for fun. So somewhere 27 to 32 is arguably where you might peak, okay? And so we're gonna call this like your peak right there. Now here's the thought experiment. You ready? As you get older, you're gonna lose some of your genetic ability, your full potential, okay? It doesn't mean you have to get slower because you could train harder than you did, but your potential is gonna get to be slightly less. So I want you to think about this. If it took you, let's just call this 10 years, it's 9 to 14 years, we'll call it 10, okay? So like 28 or so. Now, if it took you 10 years to go from here to your peak, which is here, okay? 10 years. How long is it gonna take you before you get back down to where you were when you were 18 years old? What do you think? Is it gonna be another 10 years? And is it gonna look like this? Is it gonna take 10 years and then you can run maybe as well as you did when you were 18 and then you're gonna start to decline? Is that what you think? I don't know. Maybe it's slower. Maybe you think that it'll be, instead of 10 years, maybe it'll be 15 or 20 years before you get back there because you decline slower. So maybe you'd think that it would decline more slowly like this, and maybe you are 40. What do you think? I want you to pick in your mind right now, pick a number, and I'm gonna tell you what the answer is. Now this comes from McDougall of Born to Run. He did this research on there, or he reported on the research on there. And the answer is, my friends, here's the answer, ready? The answer is that you tail off very slowly, very slowly, very slowly, very slowly. And by the time you hit the same potential you had when you were 18 years old, here, by the time you get there, you are 60 flipping years old. Isn't that amazing? But it gets better. You ready? It gets better, so much better, because this assumes that this curve represents your potential. So that means if you trained really well, if you did the most training that you could, the best recovery, with the best nutrition, with the best training equipment, and if you did everything that you could, this would be how you could expect your performance to be in, let's say, the marathon over your lifetime. But we don't train like that. When you're 10 years old, you may not even be running. And so that's your potential of what you could do, but what you actually do is gonna be less than that. It's gonna be somewhere down here. And then maybe you run track in high school, and so you actually get up to a higher percentage of your potential. And maybe you run in college, but then maybe you stop running for a decade or so, okay? And you do CrossFit a little bit, and then you get fat. The point is, you're not maxing out this potential all the time. And so, here's the take-home message for you, ready? Even though your best times of your life that you may have run, let's use green here, okay? Even though the best times that you may have ever run, let's say it's a marathon and you ran, let's call it 3 hours and 30 minutes, okay? Maybe that represents, this is running ability, right? So maybe 3 hours and 30 minutes represents right here. And that's the highest that you ever hit in your life. And maybe you did it in your 30s or so, right? So this line is now gonna be, we're getting a little messy here. This line is now gonna be, it went up and it kind of peaked right there. And after that, you kind of went downhill. But you never actually trained with the ferocity of an Olympian. You know, you never actually hit your potential, which is up here. And so what you can do, even though you're in your 40s or even your 50s, or even your 60s, what you can do is you can maximize your potential. Now look at the difference. This is the best you've ever done right here. And this is what your potential is at that age right here. You see that gap that's right here? You can surpass that, and you can actually not just max out your potential, but you can actually run a lifetime best. This is how you do it. And your new level of fitness will be here. Your level of fitness will be up here when you're 50 or 60, when your lifetime best in the marathon at that 3:30 was even at age 30. Isn't that amazing? Let's jump back in here and let's take a look at how some of the run eliters have done it. Let's go, let's go. Okay, let's take a look at some ultra runners now, because ultra runners, they train really far in their training, but then race really far. So if there's going to be a limitation in their body, it's really going to show up. Injuries, lack of energy, things that could hold them back because they're running 100, 200 miles sometimes. Let's take a look. So this is the leaderboard as reported by Ultra Running Magazine. So we're going to look at 2021 Men's Ultra Runners of the Year, and they base this off of top performances, placing, and just kind of overall. And we look at the top in the country. Okay, and we see number 5, Harvey Lewis. Harvey Lewis did an amazing run at Big's Backyard. He ran 300 and something miles. Okay, look, he's 45 years old, and he's not placing 5th in his age group. He's placing 5th overall, ranked for all ultra runners of all ultra running distances. Now, go down and look at number 10, Jeff Browning. What is that I see? 50 years old. 5-0, baby. And he's not, again, an age group winner. He's ranked number 10 in the country. This is incredible. Let's look at the women's side here. So if we look at the top 100-mile women, number 1, who do we see? Camille Herron, 40 years old. Now, this is the equivalent ranking of being a national champion, okay, in track and field or something. 100-mile top performances. Camille Herron. She has the top 2, but she did her second one at age 40. Let's keep looking around. What do we see here? This woman, I don't know this woman here, but you can see her, Karen, 50 years old, 5-0, making the top 100-mile women in the country list. Ranked at, what is she, 41. Ranked 41, but age 50. This is incredible. Let's keep going on. What if we look at, that was top runners and 100-mile. What if we look at top 50-mile men? Who do we see? Well, let's zoom in. Number 1 in the country is 45 years old. Are you starting to see that there's actually some runners who are far older than you thought running at the top of the country and at the top of the world? Zoom down this list. Bill Shires, 56. Take that in for a second. Ranked 42 at the 50 mile. Now the 50 mile is still really fast. It's only basically two marathons, right? We're not even looking at 100 and 200s. They're still cranking. And believe me, 624 is not, I've run that exact same course, that damn Yeti 50 mile, and I ran it in 731, which was good enough to rank me 100 and I think I was 108th in North America that year. And here's a guy who's 56 years old on that same course, boom, 624. It's amazing. It's incredible. So if you want to figure out how you can do this, go to andrewsnowcoaching.com/run, and you can book a free call with me where I'm going to share with you how you can structure your training to be able to achieve like this. And I want you to see what some of our runners in Run Elite have done. So I'm just going to go through a few right here. Here's Lacey. Now, Lacey's done a lot with her running, but something that's really amazing is that she has PR'd in the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, the marathon, her triathlons, and her ultra marathon, all 2 years running in a row. So as she's getting older, like 1 year after the next, still getting faster, and she's in her 40s. Let's keep looking forward here. Kathy Hodges in her 60s, 6-0, baby. She ran a 50 miler in Kansas, 5-0. This is huge, okay? She had never run that far, not even close. Hadn't even done a marathon, and she ran 50 miles in her 60s. Here is Heidi. Heidi's the one on the right here, and this is Heidi and Karen, both Run E-Leaders. Heidi started placing higher than she ever had before. She came in her top female masters, the winner in her 5K, and as she moves later and later into her 40s. We can look at Gene. Gene is 62 years old, and he's actually training for his first 100 miler right now. He ran the JFK 50 miler, but he says that after seeing what he was able to do even in his 60s, his mindset now is to win the darn race, not just win his age group. And he keeps shining and going forward. He's actually got a 100 miler coming up pretty soon. And here is Karen Gordon. She runs roughly a marathon every 2 weeks, year round. And here, I just wanted to highlight to you, here she is at the Boston Marathon 2022. And just look at the joy that she has on her face. She runs so much, and she was reviewing her 2021 season. She got 6 marathons, 3 half marathons, and qualified for Boston twice. Now, her goal was to continue to keep qualifying for Boston every year, even as she gets older. So she did it in 2021, and then wanted to improve on her time. Still, it wasn't fast enough for her, so she went out and she did it again and ran even faster, boom, and got yet another Boston qualifier. So if you want to learn how you can do this, as the elites do, and as people who are not unlike you do as well, in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s even. Go to andrewsnowcoaching.com/run. And in there, you're going to be able to book a free call with me. And on that call, we're going to go over. There we go. Hello. On that call, we are going to go over what it's going to take for you to structure your training and what you're going to have to believe in order to achieve at such a high level. I'll see you on the phone. Thanks for dropping in here today. And I love having you guys all in the Run Elite group. I hope that you learned a lot from here. Again, if you want to see how you can do this and apply it for yourself, andrewsnowcoaching.com/run, and I'll talk with you soon.